Welcome back to the Financial Times. Our guest this week on View from the Top is John Lechleiter, the Chief Executive of Eli Lilly, one of the largest US pharmaceutical groups. Tell us first a little bit about your sense on the global economy. You're a big multinational company, you've got sales and activities around the world, and you've been expanding quite a lot into the emerging markets. So are some of these emerging economies actually doing rather better than the established markets, or are they actually being dragged down together?
Well, I think so far we've seen a situation where the economies of many of the developing markets seem to be moving ahead almost as if unimpeded by other concerns. At the end of the day, though, I think we're all fairly tightly linked together. I think it's important for us to have global policies, trade policies, banking policies, economic policies that help ensure that we are attempting to try to solve our problems in tandem and move ahead together in tandem.
And in the US itself, we've again had some quite disappointing unemployment figures recently. Times are still pretty tough, and that's your core market. Are you feeling the squeeze?
We're not so much feeling the squeeze in the moment. I think that the longer term implications of continued unemployment or continued higher levels of unemployment are worrisome in terms of the impact that will have not only on the economy but on government programs as we look ahead and think about things like our long-term deficit in particular. So I think this is something we obviously have to watch carefully, and of course we've tried to be articulate about the kinds of policy changes that we think are important to continue to ensure that new jobs are created, particularly in our sector where directly or indirectly today we employ about 4 million people in the U.S. through the biopharmaceutical industry.
And in terms of patients in the U.S., how much of a challenge is there because of the downturn in terms of those who perhaps still aren't covered in some way by insurance? Are you seeing an uptick in demand but balanced by some difficulties over ability to pay for medical treatment?
I think there's little question the economic downturn has put more pressure on household spending and on people's pocketbooks, where suddenly a $25 or a $50 copay for a medicine could represent a significant burden that it did not represent before. We're obviously concerned about that. We're also concerned, frankly, about the 40 to 50 million people who, at least until the Affordable Care Act provisions kick in, are uninsured today and therefore have rather more limited access to health care in general.
Now, you and a lot of other pharma companies obviously are arguing constantly about new models that can help stimulate more innovation and productivity in R&D, but there's still something of a glut of it across the industry. What makes you convinced that the model at Lilly can now really work and deliver?
There's no one new model. I think that there are many new models emerging. I think there are many different approaches being tried, all of which share a common theme, which is really expanding the boundaries of any one company to embrace university researchers, small biotechs, private foundations in some cases to ally to serve as partners and to really expand our universe of knowledge and the tools we have available to both discover and develop medicines. It's still early days on many of the initiatives that we began to put into play a decade or so ago, but I believe as we look back 5 or 10 years from now, we'll definitely have seen a positive impact from this new approach.
You're a scientist and a researcher. That's a pretty unusual background, alas, these days for the head of a pharma company. How important do you think it is to have those sorts of skills, both in top management and also potentially on the board of non-executive directors of pharma companies, if they're going to succeed?
Well, I've said before, I'm comfortable in my own skin. It's helpful for me to have the background I have to better understand certain of the complexities of our business, but I certainly believe and have found there are others who come from different backgrounds who are equally well constituted to lead companies of the kind of complexity biopharmaceutical companies represent in this day and age. I see a trend recently to, as far as the boards go, to probably add more people to boards who bring expertise in science and medicine, in some cases very deep expertise. And I think this is probably a good thing given the complexity of the science and the fact that we will be relying more and more on scientific breakthroughs for our new medicines.
Thanks very much. It's a long tradition on the FT to play long short. John Lechleiter, are you ready to play?
I hope so.
Mitt Romney.
Long.
Greece.
Short.
The Eurozone.
Long.
Affordable Care Act.
Long.
A soda ban in New York.
Short.
A cure for cancer.
Long.
A significant treatment breakthrough for Alzheimer's.
Long.
John Lechleiter, thank you very much.